So it's been about a month since I unboxed the TRMNL OG, and I've used it every single day since. No, it hasn't changed my life, and no, it hasn't saved me 24 hours like the dashboard claims, but it has earned its spot on my desk. So let's talk about what's held up, what hasn't, and whether I still think it's worth the price. By the way, these views are based entirely on my own experience. I paid for this device myself, there's no affiliate link and no sponsorships, it's just my honest opinion. I promised in the past that I'd declare to you up front when something was cloud only, and out of the box, this product is exactly that. I can give it a pass though, because if you have the technical skills, you can get around the cloud only limitation fairly easily. In fact, TRMNL are not just okay with you doing that, they'll even give you the tools, but more on that later. Let's start with the display. The screen quality is really nice. It's crisp, clear and super readable. Photos do look a bit janky, but that's kind of par for the course with the eink. It's not meant to be a photo frame, it's meant to be an information display, and for that, it's great. A backlight would have been nice, but with the eink you kind of have to pick your battles. This thing's basically a digital piece of paper with some Harry Potter newspaper magic thrown in, and honestly I'd rather have that insane battery life than a glowing screen. Speaking of the battery life is ridiculous. I charged it once when I unboxed it just to make sure I was giving it 100% from the off, and a month later it's still sitting at 67%, and that's with it being switched on 24/7. My plan is to run it to death and give a test exactly how long the battery will last, but based on the current drain I expect to not have to charge this again for months. Their plugin library is excellent. Notion, Google Calendar and Todoist are my favourites at the moment, and the Google Calendar one in particular has basically replaced my need to open my calendar in the morning. I didn't bother making a custom plugin because I don't really have a huge use case for it, but the process seems to be really intuitive. If you do want to make your own, it looks flexible enough that you don't need a computer science degree to figure it out. It's pretty much just filling in a form and adding the relevant API details. That simplicity does seem to come at the cost of flexibility though. I'm struggling to see how you can really customise the layout of your new plugin once you've got your data in, but as I didn't dive into that, I won't knock them down for it. The only reason I didn't make my own is that the one plugin I wanted was a Home Assistant integration, and that would mean sending smart home data outside of my network. And as I mentioned in my unboxing video, that's a hard no from me. It technically is possible though, so credit where it's due. Whilst we're on the subject of the whole data leaving my network thing, let's discuss the cloud of it all. So an e-ink display isn't like a regular display where you can just plug in a source and have done with it. E-ink basically has to render a predefined image. So TRMNL provides a service that pulls your data sources in, turns that into an image and then sends that image to your display. A bit like a digital photo frame. That process can be computationally heavy, so in order to give you that incredible battery life, it does make sense to do this off device, and having a web app handle it keeps the whole process as simple as possible. Now, technically this doesn't need to be cloud-based, but for a consumer product that just works out of the box, this approach does make sense to me. The sacrifice, of course, there is that there's no local control, but here's why I give that a pass in this instance. There's no subscription fee to use their cloud platform, and most importantly, the firmware is open source, and if you really wanted to, you could replace it entirely or intercept their servers and roll your own interface. They've also developed Terminus, which is their open source tool that they designed specifically to allow you to bring your own server to use with the device instead of their cloud platform. That means the technically minded amongst you could easily make your own version of the web app and just point the device there instead. It also means that should TRMNL ever decide to switch their services off, it wouldn't be that hard at all to just switch over to a locally hosted solution or one provided by another third party, so it's kind of fair enough. The build quality is decent. It's not amazing, but it's certainly not terrible. I went for the wood effect version, which in hindsight was probably a mistake. I thought this was actually bamboo, but it's not, it's plastic. In their defence, the site does say that it's wood effect plastic, so that one's on me. I think the solid colour ones probably do look cleaner on a desk, so I'd probably recommend going for that. The construction is clean and there are no manufacturing defects, although there is a strange bit of like patch tape on the back, but I have a feeling that's just part of the process and is not actually a defect, plus it's on the back, so who cares. My only real complaint, if you could call it one, is that the plastic feels a little bit cheap and thin. When I opened it up, the place that I inserted the pry bar did actually dent, which is a bit of a shame, but again, that dent's at the bottom and can't be seen, so honestly I think I'm just being picky here, and very few people will open it up anyway, so I don't think I'd lose any sleep over it. I was going to complain about their playlist feature, which is where you control what plugins appear and how often they cycle. I was going to mark it down for being functional but not especially intuitive. When I made this, I wanted a layout where you could show multiple plugins at once instead of having to rotate every few seconds. It was totally possible and I did do it, but it wasn't obvious how. However, since then, they have updated their web app and it's much clearer now. So whilst this was going to be a slight point against them for not having an intuitive UI, it's now a point in their favour, as they're clearly on the job when it comes to improving their product for the users. Price-wise, I still think it's a little bit on the high side. It's not exactly outrageous, but I do get a, that's a bit steep kind of vibe from it. After looking around though, there really isn't all that much competition, so I do get why it costs what it does. If they could knock a tenner off for like a Black Friday or Christmas sale, I think they'd open themselves up to a much wider audience. Also, this could be one of those things where the price feels worse than it actually is. I priced up buying all of the components needed to build my own DIY version of this, and it came up to about 80 quid. So the 28 quid markup for their software services, the time they spent developing it in the case, is probably more than fair. I guess my issue really is that eink displays just generally feel like they should be cheaper than they actually are at the moment, and that's hardly Terminal's fault. You've probably noticed a pattern here. I've tried really hard to say negative things about this product, but every time I've had a less than stellar opinion on it, they've either fixed my issue or I've come to realise that it's totally fair enough, and honestly I can't pretend I'm not impressed. My only real complaint is that this is my first review video and I don't have anything especially negative to say, so it makes me look like I'm all biased. Shame on you, Terminal. Tell you what, send me a Terminal X for free and I'll forgive you. Hell, I'll even review it for you. Okay, I do actually have a few tiny complaints, but honestly these are so minor they're barely worth mentioning. The YouTube plugin is often out of sync with what I see in YouTube Studio. In fact, I've actually never seen it in sync. I don't know if that's Terminal's fault or if it's just their API limitation, but it does make that integration pretty much useless for me. So yeah, I still refresh YouTube Studio about 20 times an hour. The Google Calendar plugin also sometimes shows outdated information, most notably when I switched my layout, or mashup as they call it, and suddenly the calendar was showing me dates from 2 weeks ago for some reason. When I woke up the next morning, it seemed to have fixed itself, and the issue only seems to happen when I manually update the layout, otherwise it's rock solid. Lastly, that dashboard stat that says I've saved 1 day, yeah, no. It's a cute gimmick, but I'm not sure what metrics it's measuring this with, because this isn't stopping me from scrolling LinkedIn or browsing through YouTube, it's just saving me maybe a few clicks a day. It might have saved me 30 minutes over the course of the entire month, but honestly, even that's a stretch. Now, remember in the unboxing video I said I'd probably end up making a DIY version at some point? Well, I did it, and honestly, it was way simpler than I expected. Here it is.
It's hideous!
Yeah, alright, it's not very pretty, but my 3D printer went and broke on me, but nonetheless it's working really well, and the display is so insanely thin, I think I'm just going to stick it to the wall with sellotape anyway. It's driven directly by Home Assistant. I wanted a simple low-powered D&D status for my hallway to replace the LCD screen version, and this was perfect for it. It's just a simple Python script talking to the Home Assistant API and drawing directly to the display. The tricolour display is significantly slower to refresh than a monochrome panel. We're talking several seconds instead of nearly instant, and it does a lot of dramatic flashing to clear the previous display, but for a simple dashboard that only updates when my status changes, it's absolutely worth it for that extra colour. The red really pops on a do not disturb sign. I'm not going to walk through the technical details here because that's probably a video in its own right, but I've got a GitHub repo with all of the code and the setup instructions, links in the description if you want to build your own. I'm actually not sure I'd even say that DIY or buy is fair here, as to be frank, I love both options. Cost-wise, it is cheaper to build it yourself. I'm pretty sure that something like this would actually run quite easily on a 20 quid Pi Zero, which means you could build this for around 80 quid. And the tricolour display appears to be the same price as the monochrome ones at the minute, so you get an extra colour for free. Of course, the DIY version doesn't have the simple to change interface like Terminal does. You'd have to write code for each and every change you want it to make. Foxy from the future here. I've just been editing the video, and whilst I was looking for clips, I found out that Terminal do a BYOD option, or bring your own device. So you can use their hardware with their software, or their hardware with your own software, but you can also build your own device and use their software if you want to. So you've got quite a few options. Nor does it come in an attractive form factor. There are better looking eink displays out there, but that makes the cost a lot less competitive as they are quite expensive. Honestly though, I still think there is a place for me to have both devices. I'm definitely going to flesh out my DIY version to have more information on it at some point, but I'm also definitely keeping my Terminal OG, and I will probably get the X when it comes out so I can have my calendar on a larger display. I love it. I highly recommend it. It's a great little device for having useful information visible at a glance. If you're hoping to cure your doom scrolling habit, then this isn't it. Honestly, why they're marketing it from that angle is beyond me. This is not a device that helps me to focus, as the things that it's replacing are not the things that draw my attention for a long time. I don't spend hours scrolling through my calendar or my to-do list, but if you want a clean, glanceable way to keep track of the information you actually care about, this thing nails it. So yeah, 1 month on, the TRMNL OG is still alive and kicking, and it's definitely earned its place next to Jeff on my desk. If you want to buy one, and I think you should, there's a link in the description. Ta-ra!